she screamed until there was an eerie silence. Hi, I'm sorry, I've been waiting for you, and while I was waiting, I decided I would read a little bit of World's Worst Monsters by David Walliams. It's a really good book, and if you're enjoying the book that you're here for today, Mr. Stink by the same author, David Walliams, check that out. It's pretty good. All right, but you're here today to hear your favorite teacher read from your favorite author. Yes. No. Yes, I am your favorite teacher. Yes, of course. All right, we're here for chapter 22, possibly chapter 23 today, but chapter 22 is called Long Lion Days. Let's go ahead and get started, but remember to pay close attention so that you can do the activities after and answer the questions. Let's get started. Chapter 22, Long Lion Days. Chloe and Mr. Stink weren't invited to take the helicopter home. They had to get the bus. As it was Christmas Eve, the bus was chock-a-block with people, most of them barely visible under their mountains of shopping bags. As Chloe and Mr. Stink sat side by side on the top deck, bare branches dragged against the grimy windows. "Did you see the look on his face when you told him to stick it up his?" examined Mr. Stink. I can't believe I did it," said Chloe. "I'm so glad you did," said Mr. Stink. "Thank you so much for sticking up for me." "Well, you stuck up for me with that awful Rosamond." "Stick it up your bum. So naughty. Thought I might have said something far ruder." They laughed together. Mr. Stink reached into his trouser pocket to pull out a dirty old handkerchief to dry his tears of joy. As he raised the handkerchief to his face, Chloe spotted that a label had been sewn onto it. Peering closer, she saw that the label was made of silk, and a name was embroidered delicately on it. "Lord Darlington," she read. There was silence for a moment. "Is that you?" said Chloe. "Are you a lord?" No, said Mr. Stink. "I'm just a humble vagabond. I got this handkerchief from a jumble sale." "May I see your silver spoon, then?" said Chloe gently. Mr. Stink gave a resigned smile. He reached into his jacket pocket and slowly withdrew the spoon and handed it to her. Chloe turned it over in her hands, looking at it up close. She realized she'd been wrong. It wasn't 3 letters engraved on it. It was a single letter on the crest, held on each side by a lion. A single capital letter D. "You are Lord Darlington," said Chloe. "Let me see that old photograph again." Mr. Stink carefully pulled out his old black and white photograph. Chloe studied it for a few seconds. It was just as she'd remembered. The beautiful young couple, the Rolls Royce, the stately home. Only now, when she looked at it, she could see the resemblance between the young man in the photo and the old tramp beside her. "And that's you in the picture." Chloe held the photograph delicately, knowing she was handling something very precious. Mr. Stink looked much younger, especially without his beard and dirt, but the eyes were sparkling, and it was unmistakably him. "The game's up," said Mr. Stink. "That is me, Chloe, a long time ago." "And who's this lady with you?" "My wife." "Your wife? I didn't know you were married." "You didn't know I was a lord either," said Mr. Stink. "And that must be your house then, Lord Darlington," said Chloe, indicating the stately home standing behind the couple in the photograph. Mr. Stink nodded. "Well then, how come you're homeless now?" "It's a long story, my dear," said Mr. Stink evasively. "But I want to hear it," said Chloe. "Please? I've told you so much about my life, and I've always wanted to know your story, Mr. Stink, ever since I first saw you. I always knew you must have a fascinating tale to tell." Mr. Stink took a breath. "Well, I had it all, child. More money than I could ever spend. A beautiful house with its own lake. My life was like an endless summer. Croquet, tea on the lawn, long lion days spent playing cricket. And to make things even more perfect, I married this beautiful, clever, funny, adorable woman, my childhood sweetheart Violet." "She is beautiful." Yes, she is. She was. Unutterably so. We were deliriously happy, you know. It was also obvious now to Chloe. The way Mr. Stink had expertly bowled the screwed up piece of paper into the bin, his silver monogrammed cutlery, and his impeccable table manners. His insistence on walking on the outside of the pavement, the way he had decorated the shed, it was all true. He was super posh. Soon after that photograph was taken, Violet became pregnant, continued Mr. Stink. I couldn't have been more thrilled. But one night, when my wife was 8 months pregnant, my chauffeur drove me to London to have dinner with a group of my old school friends at the Gentlemen's Club. It was just before Christmas, actually. I stayed late into the night, selfishly drinking and talking and smoking cigars. What do you mean, selfishly? Said Chloe. Because I should never have gone. We were caught in a blizzard on our way home. I didn't get back until just before dawn, and found that the house was ablaze. Oh no! Cried Chloe, not sure if she could bear to hear the rest of the story. A piece of coal must have fallen out of the fireplace in our bedroom, and set the carpet all light as she slept. I ran out of the Rolls Royce and waded through the deep snow. Desperately, I tried to fight my way into the house, but the fire brigade wouldn't let me. It took 5 of them to hold me back. They tried their best to save her, but it was too late. The roof fell in. Violet didn't stand a chance. Oh my God, Chloe gasped. Tears filled the old tramp's eyes. Chloe didn't know what to do. Dealing with emotions was a new thing to her, but tentatively she reached out her hand to comfort him. Time seemed to slow down as her hand reached his. This made the tears really flow, and he shook with half a century of pain. If only I hadn't been at the club that night. I could have saved her. I could have held her all night, made her feel safe and warm. She wouldn't have needed the fire. My darling, darling Violet. Chloe squeezed his dirty hand tight. You can't blame yourself for the fire. I should have been there for her. I should have been there. It was an accident, said Chloe. You have to forgive yourself. I can't. I never can. You are a good man, Mr. Stink. What happened was a terrible accident. You must believe that. Thank you, child. I shouldn't really cry. Not on public transport. He sniffed and gathered himself together a little. So, said Chloe, how did you end up living on the streets? Well, I was heartbroken, utterly inconsolable. I had lost my unborn child and the woman I loved. After the funeral, I tried to return to the house. Lived alone in a wing that hadn't been so badly damaged by the blaze, but the house carried so many painful memories. I couldn't sleep. Being there gave me terrible nightmares. I kept seeing her face in the flames. I had to get away. So one day, I started walking, and I never came back. I'm so sorry, said Chloe. If only people knew that. Like I said on the television apparatus, every homeless person has a story to tell, said Mr. Stink. That's mine. I'm sorry it didn't involve spies or pirates or what have you. Real life isn't like that, I'm afraid. And I didn't mean to upset you. Christmas must be the hardest time for you, said Chloe. Yes, of course. Christmas is an emblem of perfect happiness. I find very hard to bear. It's a time when families come together. For me, it's a reminder of who's not there. The bus reached their stop, and Chloe's arm found a home in Mr. Stink's as they walked towards the family house. She was relieved to see that all the reporters and camera crews had moved on. The funny old tramp must be old news by now. I just wish to make everything right, said Chloe. But you are making everything right, Miss Chloe. Ever since you came and talked to me, you've made me smile again. You've been so kind to me. You know, if my child had ended up like you, I would have been very proud. Chloe was so touched she couldn't hardly think what to say. Well, she said, I know you would have made a great dad. Thank you, child. Unimaginable kindness. Nearing the house, Chloe looked at it and realized something. She didn't want to go home. She didn't want to live with her awful mother. and have to go to that horrible posh school anymore. They walked in silence for a moment. Then Chloe took a deep breath and turned to. I don't want to go back there, she said. I want to go wandering with you. And that's going to do it for chapter 22 of David Walliams' Mr. Stink. So now we do know why he said everybody has a story. What's your story? Maybe that'll be one of your questions today. Have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for chapter 23.